Nice. Okay. Gloria, could you help us with introduction to mansion staff? Gloria's here, right?
Yes, I'm here. Can everyone hear me? I've been having some technical difficulties.
Yes.
You're kind of you've broken up pretty bad, Gloria.
I've been having technical difficulties. Can everyone hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So, hello, everyone.
Hello.
And I want to thank my staff. It's a wonderful and dedicated staff, especially during this pandemic. We've had a lot of challenges, and my staff includes Barbara Caro, Jennifer Dunham, Christopher Merrill, Charlene Shehorn, and our lead interpreter, Annie Finnemore. We also have an excellent group of volunteers who are begging to come back out and do some programming with us. And that includes Debbie Bain, Carla Griffith, Maya Griffith, Zaria Griffith, Ted Mason, Jennifer and Tyler Pataki, Richard Shehorn, Jordan Whaley, and Yvonne Henry Whaley. So we are open to the public. We are currently closed. The mansion is currently closed for tours, but the grounds are open on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And we are open for guided tours of the visitor center and grounds from Thursday to Saturday with site tours by reservation. Since our last annual meeting, we have had some successes and challenges just like everyone else. But some of our successes include we co-hosted the 2021 virtual Make a Splash event with the St. John's Reserve. So we filmed demonstrations that highlighted the history of water and land use. And can everyone hear me?
Yes,
And
Yeah.
now,
Did I just blink out?
we all did.
But you're back.
Okay. Okay. I want to make sure it wasn't just me. So we highlighted history of water and land use, and our event partners included the Old State House, which did an Atlatl demonstration, the Zwanendale Museum, which demonstrated sea shanties. The First State Heritage Park did laundry at the plantation. Auburn Valley State Park, they demonstrated the steam engine, and we did beverages. Our partners and sponsors include Tidewater Utilities, the Delaware Conservation Partnership, the City of Dover, and the National Park Service. Most of the accompanying worksheets and activity sheets were translated into Spanish to provide a more inclusive educational experience. And the videos were captioned to provide accessibility for all students. There were 1,103 students from 9 different school districts. Those videos are up for Make a Splash until July. We've continued to conduct on-site archaeology program called Sifting Through History. Wade has been a really big part of that. And the public has been sifting through a dirt pile that was removed from the basement of the mansion in 2005. Some of the items discovered include a bone-handled knife, pottery shards, animal teeth, fish scales, bricks, shells, glass, nails, and a few toads. We've been doing other projects and more research, and Annie Finnemore has been working on a project currently titled the Plantation Stories Project. The goal of this project is to research and share the stories of the people who lived, worked, and died at the site of the John Dickinson Plantation and the St. John's Neck area, with emphasis on stories of enslaved and historically oppressed people. Ultimately, the names and the stories will be shared online to connect with the public and descendant communities. The John Dickinson Plantation is now a member of the International Coalition of the Sites of Conscience. A site of conscience is a place or memory, a museum, a historic site, a memorial or a memory initiative that confronts both the history of what happened there and the contemporary legacy of the history. And joining the coalition, the plantation is reaffirming its commitment to engaging with visitors about the uncomfortable truths and the painful narratives associated with the institution of slavery, both at the site and in the early history of the United States. We're also continuing our training during the pandemic. And to that effect, we attended the Association of Living History, Farm and Agricultural Museums virtual annual conference. And during that conference, they discussed strategies for sustaining living history. They discussed diversity, equity, and inclusion, and also Alphan best practices. Of course, Gary mentioned our biggest news, and that is we believe we have found the enslaved burial ground. And Wade will be talking about that in a little while. Most importantly, I would like to thank the friends. You have all been very supportive. We have appreciated your support in the past, and we hope to continue to appreciate and have your support in the future. The John Dickinson Plantation, the whole area, is a unique space, and all that we have accomplished on this site for the public and future generations. And I'm glad the HCA and the Friends are partners in this endeavor and will continue to be partners in the future. And I'm going to turn it over to Dan at that point.
Thank you, Gloria. I want to start off by thanking Gloria and her staff for all of their hard work over the last year and a bit that we've had COVID. It feels like 4 or 5 years, but they've been doing a great job. So thank you, Gloria. I get to give you all sorts of good news. I'll keep it brief. Our larger projects are continuing to progress. We've done the initial archaeological surveys in the field that is proposed, the proposed site for our new visitor center, and then also along most of where the pathways are going to be built throughout the property. We haven't done final alignment because we want to make sure we weren't impacting any buried archaeological resources. So there's going to be some further work that's going to be done in some of those areas as well. We have received a $5,000 grant from the National Trust for Historic Preservation, and that was to have a class of landscape architecture seniors from the University of Delaware have their senior capstone project be designing concepts for an area of reflection at the John Dickinson Plantation. Since we deal with some very difficult concepts, we want to make sure people have a place where they can go and contemplate what they've learned. We have a quiet place for staff because even with training, they can be very difficult concepts to teach. So we want to make sure we had that space available. Some of them have a little bit of a memorial aspect as well. And so all those concepts have been turned in. We're on to the next phase of the project, which is one of the students joining us as an intern for the summer, and she is going to be working on sort of a final concept that we'll be taking out for public feedback. I would like to thank the Friends for their letter of support for that grant request, and also especially thank Rodney Robinson for really helping create the project and all of his work on the project. So thank you to the Friends, and thank you especially to Rodney. Through our partners at the Delaware National Estuarine Research Reserve. And if you are thinking, what is that? It's Denier usually. They don't always say the name. They're the folks who run the St. Jones Reserve. Through them, we applied for a grant from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, which we have received. That is for $100,000 to construct the section of the pathway that will connect some of our paths that we're going to be building over to the St. Jones Reserve and their trails. So we will have that physical connection to our neighbors now, and which is nice because all of the land was once part of the plantation and all of it today is part of the estuary. So combining that will allow visitors to have a multitude of experiences, and we may get people that are coming over from the St. John's Reserve that aren't really expecting a historical experience, but then they can learn about us as well. So we're excited about that one. And then we recognize that as a division that Gloria and Annie and their staff are doing a lot of different things. So we want to make sure they have the support they need. And we are in the process of hiring inclusive history researchers. There's one for division-wide projects. That person has been hired. Her name is Sakina Rock. She has been working with Annie on the project that Gloria mentioned. And starting next Monday is our inclusive history researcher for the sites team. And her name is Jeanette Bendoff, and she is going to be working on that project as well. And they'll both end up working on some other projects, but we want to make sure with all the things going on at the John Dickinson Plantation that they have the research support there. Also, we have ordered some vehicles. And so to make sure we can get people out to the burial ground when we have public access, and then also get along those pathways down to the landing and to other places if they don't have great mobility. We have on order a 6-passenger golf cart that has a wheelchair ramp so that all of our paths will be fully accessible. So that's all the news I have, and I'm happy to turn it back over to Gary unless anybody has any questions for me or Gloria.
Gary, or Dan, I'm sorry. I do have a question. With all these new changes and everything, are you stressing the fact that John Dickinson manumitted his slaves and had always been a proponent of freeing the slaves? I mean, I think that that's a big issue in today's current political environment, you know, that the forefathers, they all owned slaves, but very few people know John Dickinson's philosophy regarding slaves and the fact that he manumitted all of his slaves. Are we stressing that at the plantation?
Well, we do want to tell the complete story, and part of that is that John Dickinson did ultimately manumit his slaves, but there was a big gap of time where he didn't, and that's part of the story as well. So we want to make sure we are telling that complete story. That includes when he was enslaving people, and it is when you look at all of the things going on and everything that he's writing. You know, it is a little confusing. There's a lot of things going on where he's talking about freedom, but then he's enslaving people. There's a situation, and Gloria knows this story better than I do, where there was a neighbor across the river who was going to sell the family of an enslaved person that John Dickinson was enslaving. And basically he approached John Dickinson and said, "I'm going to sell them. So if you want them, you can buy them first." And he did, to keep the family together, but he didn't free them. So there's a lot going on there, and we want to make sure we're telling that complete story.
Okay, so just to make sure that we're telling the whole story and not just that Dickinson was a slave owner.
Nope, all of it's part of it. So he was a slaveholder, and he did manumit those he enslaved. There was a gap there, so it wasn't like it was instantaneous. But we do want to make sure the complete story is told, and that is true for everybody who lived, worked, and died on the plantation. We want to make sure we're telling that complete story for everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Ellen, if you could review the minutes of the 2020 annual meeting.
Yes, thank you, Gary. Minutes from the annual meeting last year, we met online via Zoom due to the pandemic. I summarized the meeting minutes from the previous meeting. David provided a treasurer report. We didn't provide the actual report, but anyone that was interested could get a detailed report. The membership report was provided by Elizabeth Horsey. The 2020 levels were significantly higher than 2019. Tom Smith provided a website update that we had added. there was a state report by Dan and Gloria Henry talking about the landscape master plan. Rodney Robinson provided an update on the landscape committee. There was a marketing campaign update provided by Gary Gradell and John Sweeney, and this was in regard to our fundraising activities to proceed with the master plan for the site, which was on hold last year due to the pandemic. And everything really was on hold until we knew what the master plan would be as a result of the cutbacks. Elizabeth recommended sending a holiday card. There were board member vacancies, general updates, and future meetings. And that was the annual report from last year.
Beautiful. Thank you, Ellen. And then David Holden, could you provide a treasurer's report, please?
Hi, good evening. So this report is as of the end of the first quarter for 2021, so March 31st, 2021. We basically have 3 accounts that we maintain. We have a checking account at M&T that has a little over $8,000 in it. We've had a little bit of activity, mostly related to membership dues and then expenses related to, postage and mailings. And then we have a small capital campaign account that was opened a couple years ago that has a little over $1,000 in it. And then we have a fund at the Delaware Community Foundation that has grown nicely. It's up to almost $89,000 roughly there. So our total assets are $98,478, which basically kind of represents our total financial picture. We don't really have any liabilities to report. And the details for the transactions for the last year are available. If anybody is interested, email me or email Ellen, and we'll make sure you get the detail. One other significant change in 2021 is we've brought on the accounting firm of Williams and Hoke to help us with all of our state and federal reporting, and to help with preparing the financial statements so that we're kind of compliant with all those requirements. So that represents my report. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Elizabeth, can you help us out with the status of membership?
Sure. Thank you. So I'm sure, as you're all aware, membership is crucial to the Friends and is the lifeblood of any organization. I'm happy to report that our 2021 membership stands at 49 member households, hailing from 5 different states. The membership letter was just sent less than a month ago, so I anticipate that number increasing in the next few months. If you haven't renewed your membership, I encourage you to do so today. We're also accepting new members, so please be sure to invite any of your friends and family to join. Just quickly, your dues are put to good use. We don't just collect them and sit on them. Dues help support the mansion staff, updates the website, and much more. Over the past years, which has already been mentioned, the website has undergone several updates. We're now able to accept online payments for membership and donations. I want to especially thank Tom Smith for his persistence in getting that system set up. He was the driving force for that. We've also recently completed a new member brochure, which was sent with the 2021 renewal letters. I want to thank the entire board and Gloria Henry, Dan Citron, and Bertie Lee for their input and assistance with this effort. And last but not least, I want to acknowledge our 2020 and 2021 patron and benefactor members and thank them especially for their generosity and support of the Friends. That includes Sarah D'Alonzo, J. Michael Monroe, Brad and Ellen Richardson, Rodney and Sue Robinson, Harry and Cindy Terry, and Connie Wallig. Also, if you recently sent in your membership check, thank you very much. I know that they're still coming in. And I'll just wrap up and thank you all once again for supporting John Dickinson, the mansion in history. And I hope that we can, the next time we see each other, I hope it's in person. I'll paste the link to the donation website. If you haven't already renewed your membership, I'll paste it into the chat window. And that's kind of it for me.
Elizabeth, very nicely done. Thank you.
Gary, can I go back and ask, we went through the treasurer thing so fast. Some years ago, when it got transferred, somebody forgot to keep track of the annual franchise tax and the form that goes to the government. Is that all on the punch list and done? And do we know when and what is due?
David, can we help you out?
Yeah, that's definitely on the punch list. That's one of the reasons we brought in Williams and Hope. The annual report for 2021 has been filed. As far as that's for the state of Delaware. As far as the federal, I believe it's the 990 that needs to be submitted. They'll be working on that. I don't think that's due till sometime in October. So yes, we've got Williams and Hope. They work for instance, the Friends of the Claymont School, which is a similar sized organization to ours with a similar mission, and have taken care of their reporting requirements as well. So I know I'm familiar with what you talked about in the past. I think there were some lapses, but hopefully we've addressed that and we'll be in good shape moving forward.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is election of officers and board members. Rodney Robinson heads up that committee.
Thank you, Gary. According to our bylaws, it's the duty of the nominating committee to present for the membership vote at the annual meeting a slate of directors and officers for each position that is to be filled. There will be 2 director vacancies as of June or the end of this month. As chair of the nominating committee, I nominate the following 2 candidates: Joe McDaniel, who fills the Sussex County need, and Ray Siegfried, who will fill the Newcastle County requirement. Do I hear a second for that nomination?
Second.
I second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion about them? Hearing none, all those in favor? Say
Aye.
aye. Are any opposed? Or abstained? The motion carries. So welcome Joe and Ray to the board of directors.
Thank you.
The following are the proposed officers for the coming year. For president, Rodney Robinson. Vice President, Eunice Craig. Secretary, Ellen Richardson. Treasurer, David Holden. Again, do I hear a second for the motion to accept them? Thank you, John. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstained? Hearing none, we have our new officers for the coming year. Now, at this time, it's appropriate to say farewell to our president, Gary Gradell, and to thank him for his service and his leadership during his tenure. Gary assumed the president's role unexpectedly after the untimely death of Jack Richter. Since then, Gary has led our board of directors as we endeavor to raise the profile of John Dickinson and steer the public towards our website. He led us through the introduction of our capital campaign to support the State Division and Historical Cultural Affairs in their plans to improve the visitor experience. And Gary also took on the uncharted waters of meeting during the pandemic. It is only through really a firm commitment of individuals like Gary that our Friends organization continues to thrive and support our state and our national heritage. So on behalf of the board of directors and the members of the Friends of John Dickinson, I would like to present Gary with this commemorative Dickinson pewter cup. Do we have a photograph of it?
Let me see if I can.
We do somewhere. This is a virtual presentation, but it's not a virtual cup. It's a real cup that's going to be that's being sent to Gary. There it is.
Oh, nice.
That's the front.
That's-
Let me see if I can get the back. This is the back,
That's the back.
and it shows the years of service.
Very nice. Thank you.
And Gary, you should have that tomorrow.
Oh, wow. I will put it to use.
Now, if I can get back to.
There
Okay,
you go.
Thank you, Ellen, and thank you again, Gary, for your service. Greatly
Thank you,
appreciated.
Rodney. So this evening, we have a guest speaker, a man by the name of Wade Katz. Wade is a registered professional archaeologist. He's got over 35 years of historic research and cultural resource management experience. He was a graduate of the University of Delaware. He's internationally recognized historian with particular interest in the history of farmsteads and agricultural landscapes. Wade, it's all yours. So in closing, this will be very short and sweet. It's been a great experience for me to be serving on this board. I've been on it for 6 years. Great people involved in this effort. And it's so impressive to see so many people interested in John Dickinson and the mansion and of course the entire property. I thought it might be good for us to remember the mission statement as in a closing here, to simply say, this is our mission statement. And I think it helps direct the effort of what we do. To stimulate and endeavor to perpetuate interest among the people of Delaware and elsewhere in John Dickinson, President of the State of Delaware, under the Constitution of 1776, and a signer of the Constitution of the United States, and in the mansion located in Kent County, Delaware, near the St. Jones River, where he resided during a portion of his life through the collection and dissemination of data with reference thereto. So with that, good evening.
thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Gary.
We all signing off?
Meeting adjourned.
Meeting adjourned.
Meeting adjourned. Yep.
Bye, everyone.
Good night.
Bye, everyone.